All right, tell the story.
For YouTube, Mahal has taken over the podcast chair. She's now with us. There she is. Anyway,
hi, bitch.
Gabby and I have never experienced a better exhale than at Jesse Erzurl's Mad Happy meditation event, because let me tell you, it was not your average yoga loud exhale. It was
not a shy crowd.
Room, guttural. Dude, one person was doing scales. You hear that shit?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I heard it.
I was like, oh, trauma to get out the body, huh?
Oh, yeah. And we said it to Jesse, too, after. And he was like, yeah, not a shy crowd. I was like, not a shy crowd.
You could tell when people are like from the world, you know?
Go listen to his episode.
It's so good. It's one of our best.
Let's plug everything while we can.
It's truly one of our best. And while you're at it, go sign up for a big quiet meditation lesson. Let's plug him too.
Facts. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're really turning into like plug queens. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that probably
like
has a really sexual, like it has a really sexual connotation, and I heard it as it was coming out of my mouth. But I committed. You know, I was sent a butt plug.
I don't think you told me that.
I was sent one. I have not.
You haven't tried it yet?
Quite yet used it. I'll circle back. You best believe I'll circle back when I do.
I was moving my mom yesterday, the day before, I don't know, and my sister Sophie was there. And one of them, I don't know what they were talking about, but one of them was like, yeah, does anyone need poppers? Or does anyone want some poppers? And my mom was like, oh my God, yeah. And I just looked at them and started cracking up. They have no clue what it was. I had to pull up an article, explain it to them.
Yeah. Of course, because that's naturally how we do
She
things.
was like, do you stick it up your asshole? I was like, no, you okay, it's fine. We won't.
You said, don't worry.
I shouldn't be the one to explain it. It's fine.
Wow. I almost made a really inappropriate joke, but I remembered we were recording. Everyone, I think I've said it on here, but like Meadow is my gauge for what's really inappropriate to say on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I almost made one of those jokes, but I didn't.
We love those jokes. Here's the thing is like, we really live for those jokes.
By those jokes, I mean
there is that line, but there's always that line.
Do you know what, though? There is that line. And that is the perfect segue for what we're going to start this episode talking about.
Oh my God, it really is. I didn't even think about it.
Wow, we really did a really good job of segueing into what we're going to talk about, because some people are sensy. Okay? Some people
are they?
Some people are sensy. And okay, stay with me, team.
Take the floor.
Stay with me here. So we posted a TikTok that people were not happy about. Okay. I made a joke on Chris Clemens' episode about my family being too busy escaping communism. And some people, by the way, I thought it was hilarious. Some people had a fucking conniption. Okay.
Honestly, for me, fun to watch people just fight themselves in the comments, because
thank you so much. Thank you so much. So here's the thing. Half the comments were like, that's my family, ha ha ha. Because like I feel like whenever I post TikToks about like me being Latin, like funny things about my family, half the people, they hit, okay? And half the people like them, half the people don't. So half the people were like, that's my family. And then the other half the people fucking came for my throat in the comments, okay? Half the comments were like, entitled rich girl from Miami, or like girl who doesn't understand history. Those were some of the fun ones. So here's the thing. Both of my families, I have one family. Both of my parents, yes, thank you. Both of my parents and their families fled Cuba, okay? Because people were super curious about the dates in the comments as well. My dad left in 1959. Yeah. My dad left in 1959. My mom left in 61. My mom and her brother were sent without their parents. Their parents didn't join them for another year. Okay. What Castro did to Cuba and its people is a fucking atrocity. Okay. He created a state of fear that not only broke apart families, murdered those who opposed him. My dad literally watched his best friend's dad get publicly executed, and completely impoverished Cuba and his people. Okay. He was a fucking oppressive communist dictator. So with that said, I am not sure if people in the comments were mad that I essentially like minimized the mass atrocities and murders committed by Castro and like put it all under the blanket of communism. Like maybe I should have said like oppressive dictatorship.
In a 20-second TikTok.
Right. So that's number one. Or if they were saying that what happened in Cuba under Castro is a good thing, which I do know that some people were saying. Someone commented something along the lines of like, oh no, teaching poor people to read and write, what a scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comment is the comment that fucking infuriated me the most, because also that same person also, I'm pretty sure, commented on like my lack of understanding of Cuban history. And I 10 out of 10 guarantee you this person's not Cuban.
Oh,
what this person is referring to is Castro's role, or what I think they're referring to is Castro's role in educating thousands of Africans in Cuba and bringing healthcare to Cuba, which, by the way, for the average Cuban is fucking abysmal. Okay. I understand that there's nuance in everything, right? Like that's
what
history.
The show is literally about.
It's literally what the show is about. So many people were in support of Castro during his revolution, people in my family included, because of everything that he promised. But what he promised and what actually happened, deeply different situations, which we see with dictatorships and often with these communist regimes. Correct? But I'm aware that there is nuance in everything. Castro could have achieved positive things and still have been a fucking monster, and those two are not mutually exclusive situations. Okay? Mass executions happened, increased surveillance happened, purging of people's assets happened. It was normal. People were left with nothing. Okay? He was a violent dictator. He stripped Cuba and its people of all that they had, and I find it fucking hilarious that people came for my throat as much as they did in the comments. And let me tell you, the shit about me being privileged, okay, sent me to another level, because were both of my parents in a place of privilege that they were able to flee? Absolutely. But that was their scenario. That was their story. I am only here. I'm one human being telling you guys the story of my family. This is not the oppression Olympics. Okay?
Jeez.
Both sides of my family left with absolutely nothing, and both sides of my family were forced to rebuild in countries that were not their homes. So yes, for those coming for my throat in the comments, I did grow up privileged in Miami. Thank you for yelling that at me. I grew up privileged thanks to a single mother who worked her fucking ass off to make sure that we never had to experience what she did. So I just need everybody to get over it. Please, please. And like, I could literally talk about this forever and ever and ever, but I was like, Meta, we have to talk about it on the podcast, because it, first of all, infuriated me so much. And second of all, I was just like, people are like really dumb. And I think that's what I'm starting to realize with TikTok. And I said it to Meadow before we started posting on TikTok. I was like, TikTok's a different place. Like, it's a different beast. Comments on here they hit very different. And people are fucking aggressive. And we were mentally prepared, but I don't think I was mentally prepared for it to like come from like something about my family's experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wanted to come on here and take a little second and share my piece, because it really made me mad.
Thanks for really clearing that up. It was so confusing.
You're so welcome. It was so confusing that he was a horrible person. I know.
It really reminds me of how the week before I learned that lesson when posting a TikTok on gun reform. And the person said, so you're telling me your friend is an elementary schooler? And I went, oh, deductive reasoning skills? Like you just critical thinking just never occurred to you that
no.
There's so many mass shootings that I was only talking about the one that just happened 12 hours ago versus the what? Like TikTok comments are a different beast, but it is fun though, because I will say, I think I was able, at least I hope I was able to support you in that experience, because one, I had just had that, and two, I had one comment on mine that infuriated me, and it was kind of my first instance of this, because listen, we are not girlies with numbers, okay? We are new to this life. We are new to this world, so we're experiencing this in real time. But I feel like just the week before I had learned the lesson of like, oh, these comments are fun because like, look at where we're going. We've got new eyes on us, new people on us. They don't agree with us. Like nothing about us is personal. It says everything on them. So I was really trying to help reframe and hold that perspective of you, because I was like, Gabby, the comments are so bad that it's like it's clearly so misinformed and like so missing the mark that it's laughable to me. So I was really trying to help reframe that.
Yeah, it was honestly laughable. And it was like, it was just, not only are people like morons, but then also like the ones that were coming at me for like, oh, she doesn't understand her history. I'm like, I grew up in Miami, Florida. Do you think that I don't understand
what's the Cuban population
history?
There? 80?
I couldn't even tell you. Literally. Yeah. But like, you're telling me that I don't understand it. And what I said to Meadow before we started recording is like, obviously I grew up with a skewed perspective, right? Like we all grow up in some sort of a bubble. And I grew up in Miami surrounded by Cubans who fled. So I understand that there's people in the world who get a piece of history and are like, oh, Castro introduced this and this. Great. he can still have also been like publicly executing people on the streets and stripping his own people of their fucking resources and livelihoods. They're not mutually exclusive, team.
Hitler painted.
Great artist, that guy.
Just saying.
Like, and we're not comparing. We are before that. Just get that in. We are not comparing Castro and Hitler. Please, if your deductive reasoning skills have not tapped in yet, we're not comparing them.
It was a joke / example of nuance. Listen to the pod. Get to know us. You'll get to know the humor. Tune in,
You'll get to know the humor. Tune in. Anyway, thanks for listening to my spiel. We needed to clear that up because it was infuriating.
I'm still stoked that our TikToks are getting numbers big enough that people are just saying me that, like, that's, I mean, I told you when my best friend Becky works at Chanel, and when she first started there and got promoted, people were like, oh, she's, you know, the nephew of so-and-so. And like, we're making up all these rumors, and she like was talking to me like upset about it. And I was like, bitch, you're doing such a good job that it was impossible for these feeble little minds to wrap their head around it, that they have to make up a scenario in which it was handed to you. Like, literally go off. Like,
no, okay. literally. And it's like, I have spent, like, I called my mom to talk to her about it. And I was like, and she started laughing so hard when I was like, the like, oh, entitled rich girl.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even want to say the first thing that came out of her mouth because people are going to come for me again. But like, it was just like, my mom worked so fucking hard. I mean, put herself through school, literally like just fucking worked herself to the bone to like give my sister and I the experience that we had growing up. And like, we grew up comfortably, but obviously my mom's like perspective of like what rich quote unquote actually is very different than like how we grew up. Like, we grew up comfortably, do not get me wrong. Okay. Like, went to private school, grew up comfortably, but like that was her like laughing because she was like, I don't understand like why people are coming for you in like about like your upbringing. She's like, also, by the way, you didn't control that. And I was like, yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. I'm aware. But like, I don't know. I just, the privilege shit always gets me because like, I always feel like I am pretty good at checking my own privilege. You're muted, babe.
Sorry, we paused because Mahal's screaming.
Yeah.
But we were talking off camera because I was trying to ask Gabby when your mom, sorry, kind of a harsh segue for you now, but when your mom even came to America.
Yeah.
She didn't even go straight to Miami.
No, neither of my parents did.
Yeah.
My dad went to Ecuador. And my mom went to Puerto Rico and then Venezuela and then Miami. So I think she got to Miami when she was like, like 18.
Like college.
Because then she put herself through UM. But my timing could be a little off on when she got to Miami.
Yeah.
But
I was just curious. When did she grow up speaking English at the same time? Or did she learn when she got here?
She went to like a summer camp that I believe like that's where she like started to really like learn it. I mean, she was taught it in school in Puerto Rico because in Puerto Rico, I mean, Puerto Rico's
right,
obviously. So they teach English at the schools there, but like she had a really thick accent until she was like later in life, and now she just
would
is like
never know
herself. No, she really is like, which sometimes makes me sad, and that's a whole other conversation of like assimilation and that whole thing.
They take it out of you.
Yeah, my mom got a real kick out of the comments.
Out of it? Oh, I bet you. Yeah. Did you tell your dad? Your dad would have some funny shit to say.
We will tell him when you meet him when you go to Miami with me because
he's going to go off about it for an hour.
That's why I just haven't had the time, frankly. Like, I don't want to listen to the full recap of history that I already understand. So,
oh my God, I can't wait to bring it up when we go. By the way, we're doing a bestie trip to Miami.
Oh yeah, Meadow and Maddie are coming with me to Miami, and neither of them have ever been. And I just feel like
I've been once.
Oh, that's right. You've been once, but not really. You went for work.
Not really. Yeah, exactly. It was work, not play.
You went for work, and not. I wasn't there, so you've never been to Miami. In my book,
I truly have not really been to Miami.
It's gonna be great.
Except for the croquetas that you did send me to, that I cannot get out of my brain. That's all I've thought about since we've realized. Yeah. Oh, we have to.
That's like 10 minutes.
I want a tour. I would like to taste every best croqueta around and then decide which is my preferred.
Absolutely.
Anyway, what are you unpacking?
I'm like, I don't even know. I feel like my brain fried. It was like I was just prepping for the Cuba thing, and then I was like, all right, bye.
Hey, later.
Do you want to go first? I feel like I've just been listening to myself talk for 16 minutes.
I guess, yeah. I'm kind of unpacking more of what we want to talk about later today.
Oh, so do you
But I was telling Gabby, No, it's okay.
No,
I just, because we'll circle back around because it's all of our shit is always relevant to each other. But I really am unpacking this in real time. So I haven't really thought about how I want to like say this directly on the pod, but like your girl gets a lot of trauma dump messages. I get messages from people that I don't know for years. It's happened for years, right? But it's just happening a little bit more and more because now people listen to the pod, and which I was trying to explain to Gabby. It's like part of me feels so fucking stoked that we create this environment that feels safe and like people can come to us because that's literally
like,
all I ever want in the world.
We're literally honored that you feel like you can come to us.
But when there's no warning, no message, I have no relationship with you, and it's detail after detail of like everything you're going through, what's going on, and all this hopelessness and this, like paragraphs long.
Yeah.
It's so deeply inappropriate. And I'm like, it's so not fair to kind of put on people that don't know you and you have no idea what's going on with them and what's going on in their lives and how it may or may not relate. And you have no relationship with this person. And like also maybe looking at where you're getting. I love that you're curious and getting advice and tidbits of us, but like you don't, it's just this, but then part of me is like, but this is what I do want to always support and uplift people, but not in the way that you just get to like attack me with your trauma. Mm-hmm. And I just deal with it and then like stop my whole day to fix. It's just, they've just been getting to me.
I mean, listen, I've seen the messages and I have been sent messages, but nothing on the scale of what Meadow gets sent. And you said a couple of key things. Like, number one is like, there's no warning. There's no like, do you have the space for this? Or like, trigger warning, I'm about to list out things that like you went through also.
Which I don't think people always know. Because I don't list every single trauma I have, and there's a lot of them. So I run the gamut. So I don't think people know that, but it's like, yeah, keep going.
But no, yeah, there's no trigger warning involved. There's no, can you hold the space? Like, Meadow is not a therapist, nor is Meadow your therapist, frankly. And like you said, it's like there's a weird fine line because like we want to create this environment where people feel safe and people feel like they can talk to us, but that is more so leaning into like the peer support model of it. The DMs
I was gonna say, we also do. If it was a group chat girly, I would be there all day helping you unpack it because I have a relationship with you. We're talking on the internet. We're friends. You support me. I support you. Right. Keep going.
But you also didn't do like guys, ask me anything on your Instagram that like warranted those questions, right? Where like you're calling them in. And I don't think we've ever said on here like trauma dump to us in our DMs.
Like, in fact, please stop.
Yeah.
Sorry.
In fact, don't.
In fact, don't.
Have you seen that TikTok of the girl that was like, I never said I was nice. In fact, I've actually said quite the opposite. Oh, it was Drew. That's Drew's TikTok.
Is it? Oh my God, that's so funny.
Where it's like, we actually have never told you to trauma dump to us in our DMs. In fact, please stop because it's inappropriate and it puts us, particularly Meadow, because she gets way more of them than I do, like in a really fucking tough position. And I get really defensive, like when it comes to you.
Thank you.
Because it's frustrating and you hold so much space for all of us, the people that you love and the people that you have in your life so like effortlessly, and you do it so much already that like
it's literally my job. So it's like if I'm going on social media for fun or to do something later, it's like it's my job to get paid to do this all day long, and then you just get to accost me in the DMs for free and demand my attention.
It's not like when you were running the hotline for local optimists.
Exactly.
Like that's what the hotline is for. Do you know what I mean? And like we are happy to point you in the right direction. And I guarantee you, Meadow, correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, but like I guarantee that whoever is sending these trauma dumpy type of messages, instead of saying that and just giving a one-liner of like, hey, I'm going through it. Do you have any resources that I could go to? She'd be happy to fucking direct you towards them.
Oh, and that's never included in any of these. And if I ever get those, I send them back. I love resources. I'll send you resources all day.
Right. I have a fuzz that I'm like, if you're watching the YouTube
that's
video,
okay. Yeah, the YouTube. My nose, when my nose is so dry recently, my nose like split. I feel like that my nose is perpetually ripping. I swear to God.
Like little fuzzies everywhere.
Both of us.
I don't know what it is.
Apes.
Yeah, literally. But yes.
But that's on boundary setting. Thank you. I'm asserting boundaries, which is new for me.
Because, we've been talking about this for a minute, so I'm glad that you actually finally brought it up because it needed to be said.
Thank you. It just, And like I said, I'm still going to find it's not to say like don't ever DM me about things or ask questions, like, but just like be a little mindful of it. Just be a little more mindful of it.
you know, it goes back to everything we say on here. Deductive reasoning skills. They're quite important.
Skills.
The more I move through life, the more I realize people lack.
But we're taught. It's so sad though, because people really are taught to think in a certain trajectory, which is why the whole point of the pod, once again, is nuance, because our whole thing is like, oh, you know what? I saw this in my notes the other day. Damon Dominique is a YouTuber that I'm fucking obsessed with. Everyone go watch his content. He's incredible. Please come on the podcast. He said something once that I literally wrote down in my notes, and it was question everything, every decision that was made before you got there. Which not in like a defiant way, in like a curiosity way. Like, what's been going on? What happened? Why did we make this decision? Who's been there? Why? From what perspective? Well, what did they go through? Like, just approach things with curiosity, baby.
Do you know what that reminds me of what we said to Natalie Joy when she came on the podcast of people think that Natalie was born at the age that she got famous?
Yes. Wow. Totally.
It reminds me of that, where they're like, Meadows a mental health professional. Meadow has a mental health podcast. Meadow helps brands with mental health. I can talk to Meadow about my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
The math ain't mathin', babes. It's just not.
Perfectly said. Also, Natalie, I miss Natalie. Come back on the pod too, Natalie. What are you unpacking?
Whenever. A lot. I mean, I feel like the universe is trolling the shit out of me these days. Like,
wait. First of all, it is.
No, like it.
Also, I got that text message at 2:22 a.m., which was also like just added insult to injury in like a really fun way. Just wanted to throw that.
Where it was like, yeah, we are. You are correct. We are trolling you. Like, okay.
You haven't talked about any of this, by the way, on the pod.
I've never talked about this on the podcast. You're actually correct. So people think that I share a lot on here. I sure don't. Okay, so I had an ex who had a name, obviously, as we all do. We broke up. The guy that I started hooking up with after him happened to have the same name.
Happens.
It happens.
Funny. We all had a good laugh.
Like, the man was never even saved in my phone.
Called him 2.0.
Yeah. Like, his name and my phone to this day are just his initials, because like it was just funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was enough. That was enough of that name. By the way, it's a random name. Okay? It's not like his name is like, I don't know, Jake, right?
Yeah, right.
So I go out last weekend. I've been in quite the mood when it comes to romance lately, which I will also talk about later. But I have just been like annoyed at everything. So last weekend I went out, and in my head I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a good weekend. It's 4th of July weekend, which like we weren't celebrating, but like long weekend.
We're drinking out of defiance, not camaraderie.
Right, which means like on a Sunday night I was going out. Anyway, I'm out and I see this really cute guy. We keep making eye contact, whatever. Night goes on. Anyway, guy comes up to me, asks me for my number, and we were talking. I'm fast forwarding for the sake of the pod. I go, what's your name? Wouldn't you believe that it's the same name as variation number 1 and variation number 2 now has variation number 3. It's like COVID.
Oh my God, it really is.
Like he said it and I was like,
that's it. Bye. Just turns around.
And then it gets worse. If you couldn't believe that it gets worse, it gets worse. I leave. I'm in the car. I'm going home with Cardo, who's like one of my best friends. Cardo and I are just cracking up in the car. He's like, bro, like, I can't believe this is fucking happening to you. Like, this is just a joke. Like, it's just a joke at this point. I get a text from number 3. From Mans I just met, saying like, hey, it's with his first and last name, because he hadn't told me his last name yet. Homeboy's last name has the first 3 letters of his last name are the first 3 letters of the last name of number 2. Okay? So this was so just
funny. He literally has to be number 3 in your phone.
No, I haven't saved his number yet. He hasn't earned that place. But can I just tell you that this is the part that I left out too of the universe trolling me, and it's been trolling me since day fucking 1. When I met number 2, the first time I went to number 2's house, I was pulling up to his street, and the cross street was my ex's. So number one's legal name, because his name that all these three have is his nickname. It's not his actual first name. And his actual first name, which is even more rare of a fucking name, was the goddamn street sign. Fucking,
it's not Middle Arc, but it's close. Yep,
perpendicular to this guy's fucking street.
It's just too much.
So the universe has been trolling me for almost a full calendar year. I told my mom, and she literally laughed so hard, and she was like, "Maybe the universe is just trying to point you in the direction of the right one, of like the right one with that name." And I was like, "No, ma.
No, ma. No. It's just the universe is laughing at you till you learn the lesson. Remember that one?
I think I've learned it. I think I've been smacked in the face. I think I've been hit with a fucking semi-truck. I have.
Oh, now you have. Yeah.
I have learned it. So anyway, I feel like the universe is trolling me. And that's all to say that lately I've been going through, I feel like I've been confronted with healing that I wasn't aware I needed to heal.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't quite ready for this type of healing, which is honestly really sweet, because I realized today that I've been fucking going through it lately the past month. And last week was my 4-year anniversary for Hoffman, or 3 year.
Wow.
3 year. I went in 2019.
That's a poignant.
3 years.
Yeah.
No, 2018. I went in 2018. I went in 2018. 3 years.
Okay. Like visual or message to you of like how far your healing has come. Like, I mean, it never ends. So it sucks when you're like, oh shit, that's a new trigger. Like, I'm triggered by that. Oh, great. That's more to do. But like, look at what you're working through versus what you were working through then. Like, that's cool. That monumental.
I mean, there's monumental, but also there's what I'm working through now, I think, is like the nitty gritty that I didn't even get the opportunity to really unpack at Hoffman because I was dredging through so much other stages. Shit.
Exactly.
So I think it's like the root of everything else.
Right.
Which, we'll maybe share when it's not so much of a gaping fucking wound.
There we oozing
blood,
gushing wound.
Yeah. Oh, but you know what? I got
happy
acupuncture.
4-year anniversary.
Thanks. 3 year. Yeah, 3 year.
3 years.
Sorry. I got not me fucking like getting you on a technicality when you're trying to congratulate me. I need to stop.
Who cares?
I'm tapping out.
We just worked through it though. I get it. Keep going.
But I got acupuncture, and
love acupuncture.
It was like a 5 senses sort of acupuncture, which I want to talk about more. I'm going to my second session tomorrow, so we'll unpack it on the pod later. But the point is that she basically was like, you're gonna feel a lot of feels. It had to do a lot with like my emotions. It was like we basically did a therapy session before we actually did acupuncture. When I tell you that I sobbed that night, this was last week. I haven't cried that hard since my last breakup a year ago.
Yeah.
I have not cried that type of cry, like judgment-free zone type of cry. And Meadow told me yesterday, she's like, you just got to move through the feelings, babes. You just got to let them come, let them feel them. And I was like, is this what it feels like to feel feelings? Because
it's the worst.
Kind of hate it.
That's why we all have to fucking talk about it and do it together, because it's the worst. But let me tell you, the more that you start doing that as a practice and lean into them, and then like as they arise, you start noticing it, and you go, fine, fucking feel it now, because it just moves through quicker.
Like a contraction.
It's like it really does only get easier. So like when you first dive into it, it's the worst. But yeah, that whole outline that I sent you, I was sending to another friend that was going through I don't want to feel the heavy feelings as well. Maybe I'll post something about it.
Yeah.
It's just you got to make the space to do it, because if that fucking shit gets stored in your body, I swear to God, that was me reading the DM. I read the most recent one and was just like itchy, like
you tensed.
Like, yes, you just feel it go through your body. And I was like, oh, okay, boundary.
Yeah. I mean, I got sick. I haven't gotten sick in a long time.
Oh yeah,
I got
you did.
sick. My neck was fucked up. Like these feelings were trying to escape my body in any way possible.
The body keeps the score, baby.
But boundaries. I want to talk about boundaries.
We listened to a good podcast on boundaries.
Yes, we listened to a good, well and good episode about boundaries. We'll put it in the show notes. And we learned a lot. I want to play a little clip for you guys right now. Cue the clip.
Mina had this to share.
It seems as if the word no is this cruel thing. It's like a cuss word. We think that if we tell someone no, that it's the end of the world. It brings up anxiety. It brings up guilt. It brings up so many issues. Learning to say no is one fundamental part of erecting boundaries. Another way of erecting healthy boundaries is by teaching people how to show up in relationship with you, teaching people how to be in relationship with you. And so sometimes we have these rules for what that looks like. And so if I'm in conversation with someone and they start screaming at me, my boundary will be, please don't scream at me while we're having a conversation. Maybe that's something I'll say to my partner, right? Recognizing we have to be the ones to teach people what it looks like to be in relationship with us.
Great.
Cut.
There's the clip.
Which also, Mina B is a therapist that I have adored on the social medias for years, who even, I think she came on Local Optimist either while I was there or right when I was leaving. So I didn't even get to talk to her, unfortunately. So we'll have to get her on the podcast. But Mina B is so cool.
God,
and she had so many poignant takeaways about boundaries that I took from it. But would you like to begin? Where do you want to start with them?
You go ahead.
Okay. Well, one of the lessons that hit me the hardest, because I was like, oh man, yeah, have I been through that, was the whole idea of if you don't respect your own boundaries, no one's going to respect them for you. And we all know that I'm the resident people pleaser here. And I was kind of sharing with someone recently who was like asking my advice for boundaries and struggling with boundaries. How I was like, you realize I've told this on the pod, I think. I went to therapy when I was 17 because my older brother killed himself. My dad died. My younger brother's sent to lockdown facilities. Everything in my life is burning down. And I went, maybe I should talk to someone. And I went, and what did I do? I unpacked how fucked up my friendships were and how I had no backbone and no boundaries for 2.5 years. So one, you never know what you're going in for, really. You never know what's coming up. But two, like, my God, like, did I use making other people's problems my own as a distraction from my own life so much to the point that it was like, oh my God, was it sad? And so learning, especially in friendships for me, like how to set back. But I guess that's interesting though, because I guess I didn't really intentionally ever go into like, you and Maddie are my most recent best friends. I never went into a friendship with you guys being like, I set boundaries now. But I think me just explaining to you guys, you knowing me so well and me being like, yeah, boundaries is always something I'm working on. Like, you all hold me accountable for them too.
You've said it from the beginning of like, I am not good at setting boundaries and I'm working on doing it. But I do, to your credit though, like, it is, I find, at least in my personal life, way more difficult to send boundaries with people that you've known for way longer because they don't expect that behavior out of you. Like, I remember talking about it.
If you've been a friend for years and then you bring that up, people are gonna be like, whoa,
it's hard.
This
it's
is
hard.
Not the
And
deal.
like, yeah, a lot of friendships in my life have shifted because of it and have changed. And like, it's sometimes sad. And like, I remember I was talking about it with one of my friends where I was like, you've always been this way and no one gets mad at you. And she's like, yeah, because I've always been that way. You haven't. You were always available. You were always whatever. And now you're like, not. And it hits different. And people get upset because they put an expectation on you. And you put that expectation out there because it's how you were behaving for however many years. So it is difficult to set boundaries with people in your life that like you've known forever.
Let's get specific. How do we have any tips on if you're going to set a boundary with a friendship you've had for 12 years and now all of a sudden you have a new boundary, how to implement it in a way that hopefully goes well, because usually it's really hard?
I will circle back when I have that conversation and it actually works out because I
have a couple.
I mean, go ahead. You're a tip queen. I think I have like one.
I think this can kind of be generalized too, but my whole thing is like, as long as you're communicating from your own place and your own perspective and with love and empathy and everything, but just being truthful about your own shit, I think it's cool. So I think rather than just kind of like throwing the behavior out there, like if it's a behavior, say, without any explanation, like bringing your friends in on the journey and being like, hey, I've been working through boundaries recently, like how I am with you guys. Hey, I've been working through boundaries recently. I'm trying to hold these more. Like, this is something I'm working through. So actually, like, I can't hang out today. I have to honor like these other things I have to do, but I'd love to have a phone call next week and then implement it in whatever way, but kind of like bringing people in on the journey so they feel like maybe they're sharing that with you and
That's
less
a great
like
one.
I think the misconception about boundaries is like creating space in a way that is mean, but it's actually like drawing a line so that you can love someone better because you're honoring your own needs. So I think in that same kind of like vibe or perspective, bringing people into the process with you can be like a nice way to kind of like soften that transition.
100%. And this podcast, the Well and Good episode, did a really good job of explaining that and explaining the like the idea that no is not a bad word. and we're just conditioned.
And it's a full sentence.
And it's a full sentence, but it's not a bad word. But yeah, I think that it's scary when like, I think what I had said earlier of like, I'll let you know when it goes well, is because I think that I've experienced boundary setting in terms of like, there needed to be a shift in the dynamic in the friendship because something was unhealthy in the friendship. It was on my end or both ends or what, you know what I mean? Like there's always, it takes two people to tango. And I handled it on my end, frankly, the best that I probably could have, which is the experience that like is most poignant in my brain. But I think that right now I'm going through trying to figure out that of what you're talking about of like, nothing needs to shift in the friendship. It's just like, right now I'm prioritizing X and I need to be prioritizing X. And it's not like I don't have time for you, but it's like, I can't do everything. And that's something that I really took away from this podcast was like the concept that boundaries can actually create a clear sense
deeper
of
connections. Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah, that boundaries can actually create a sense of clearer purpose. I'd never connected those dots and put it in that perspective. And it's funny because I recently had a conversation with one of mine and Meadow's mutual friends, and we were talking literally about that, about they asked me like, oh, you know, you love networking. Like, how do you always like have energy, I guess, to like you are always getting lunch or whatever. And I'm like, honestly, I don't. Like I network when I need to for work. But like, I was like, sometimes I take lunches with people and I take coffees with people and I say yes to people that I frankly don't want to, not on anything on them, just because like it's interrupting my workday or like it's interrupting my flow. And like, I know myself and I know that I get distracted really easily if like,
same,
especially when it comes to work stuff. And they were telling me basically the way that and I think I told you, like, you need to talk to them about it, of like the way that they have a really nice way of basically sharing with that person, like how to say no in a really respectful way that, like you said, kind of clues them in and is like, makes them feel included, but also just is so firm in their boundary that it's like, this person can't really get mad and they can't really feel shitty because it's not about them.
And it never is. Boundaries are never usually about the other person.
Yeah, because they like basically gave me a script. So I'm going to ask them and then I'll share it with you guys on the podcast.
Okay.
Because it was really fucking well done.
Because it's so true. It's always about like your own personal journey and discovering what you need and what feels good for you and like what you require in order to be a functioning best human for life and other responsibilities. So it really is not about other people.
No, it's really not. And that's just like, goes back, we've talked about it on here too. And it goes back to this concept of like people that are just so fucking obsessed with being the main character. And like, we get it. We're all the main character of our own movie. Okay. But like, there's other people in the movie, babes. There are. Yeah. And when we're so obsessed with this main character energy, like, it's just not about you. I actually have a friend who like, she was a new friend and she really put that into my brain where like she was kind of like harsh in the way that she just spoke, and that was just her personality. And she's, from the beginning of our friendship, was like, I need you to not take things personally, because know that like I am not like I speak this way. I'm really clear. I have clear boundaries, and like,
cool,
just don't take it personal. And if you're feeling like you're taking personal, you can talk to me about it and then we'll like go from there. But like,
sure,
it's not about you.
Cool.
Like, not everything's about you. And I was like,
and ever since, have you been like, oh, this is how she is? Has it been like, do you think if you didn't get that warning, it would have had you interpret things differently?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, cool.
They're harsh.
See? Beautiful example. Started from the beginning. Set the tone.
Where she said, we need to teach people what it looks like to be in a relationship with us.
Yes.
And that's hit, because
my gosh.
All, closed mouths don't get fed. A.
Yep.
And B, we need to stop assuming that people can read our minds, because they sure can't.
It's my biggest pet peeve. Not only, but this is my biggest pet peeve, Bill, because shadow work, it's what I used to do all the time in Unpacked and therapy. So now it's my biggest pet peeve. Not only do people like make assumptions on things and whatever, I can't stand if someone makes assumption about something I'm feeling or doing and has made up a scenario in their head. But instead of coming and asking me about it or double checking, you're now acting and operating and taking behaviors like that's fact and that's truth. Oh my God, does nothing grind my gears more? You can't at least fucking check in. People make assumptions and then just go with them. You just go. And it could be anything. It could be like, oh, they're mad at me, or like, oh, they whatever. I don't know. But wow,
Yeah.
ooh, does that hit? You have to teach people how to do it. You can't just assume and run. And it's like, you got to teach people how to love you. You got to teach people exactly what that means in terms of like communicate. I don't know. Every single fight I get in with Aaron, I'm like, our fights are so social worky. We've talked about that already. It's fucking incredible and also infuriating sometimes. But it's everything comes back to me being like, I'm always trying to check myself. Okay, like, did I actually ever ask for this? Is it an expectation I have? Is this something that was miscommunicated? Like, you have to be clear and have these check-ins. And sometimes you have them before, and sometimes like conversations get brought up, and sometimes they're after the fact, which is fine. But god damn, check in, people.
That lesson has fucking slapped me across the face this year. Hard when it comes to romantic relationships. Like hard. Not with who you're thinking. Well, yes, with who you're thinking, but because yes, again, we're circling back to the beginning of this conversation. Things aren't mutually exclusive. They could have been a dick and like really disrespected me, but I could have also not communicated super clearly the second time around what my expectations were. Like, and I was kind of chickening out, and like I should have, I feel like I should have done it sooner because I think it would have caused me less hurt. So I think like that's my protective self of being like, if I would have communicated my expectations and like frankly forced the conversation to happen sooner, I would have gotten less fucked over in the end, honestly.
Which is literally exactly what we're saying about feeling your feelings.
Yeah.
Rather than distracting or pushing it off or not wanting to go through it, if you were like, whatever, I'm going to have a scary feeling, let me just lean into it before the longer I wait. Yeah, exactly.
Because I had made excuses about the type of personality that they are and like, oh, it's going to scare them away, or oh, it's going to no. I was denying myself what I needed, and look where I am now. Like not getting what I want and like upset. And that hit me in the face. And then with somebody else, it hit me in the face where they fucking called me out for it. Where like, listen, again, things aren't mutually exclusive. They could have also been gaslighting the shit out of me. I'm just trying to give you a clue of what I'm talking about.
Okay. That clued me in a lot more.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. So this one said to me, I basically got upset. This was months ago, but I got upset that like they weren't essentially like, I was like, I don't want to say too much, but basically the point is that like I was not communicating what I wanted out of the situation very clearly. And they straight up were like, you have been acting this way with me. We're like, you're happy, you're smiley. When you see me, you greet me. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're in such a good mood whenever we're together that like, where the fuck is this coming from? Like you never clued me into the fact that I was doing something to upset you because you were just acting fine. And
how was I supposed to know?
You're actually correct in that specific moment.
And that's how Gabby got sent a butt plug.
Exactly. Full circle. We love to be full circle here on Thoughts I Vary. You know what I mean?
Boundaries is truly one of my favorite things to talk about too, because it's like you're saying, it could be like conversational boundaries. It could be time boundaries. It could be work boundaries. It could be like,
dude, it applies to everything.
Theme bound. Like it just really, but you know, what's interesting. I will say in the same way that I feel like a lot of other mental health things become pop culture in a weird, like attachment styles, really. Like everyone was freaking about attachment styles for a little bit and kind of still are on TikTok. Really, and I'm like, it's really Psych 101, babes. Like doesn't define everything. And it's kind of like the most boring part. At least pick Freud. So it has to do with sex. Like it's just boring. Anyway, like people, or the word trigger, how that got, it's so not what it means in the field versus how it is in pop culture, whatever.
Right.
I kind of wonder if boundaries are going to start doing the same thing where like people are like so erecting their boundaries that they just become like very like narcissistic or like self-absorbent in the same main character energy way. It's always that balance that makes me nervous about like how to bring mental health to pop culture in a way that like, I guess it just goes back to us on social media expecting nuance more. Like why did people watch a 26-second TikTok of you and just act like
assume all of that was real?
Yeah. Out of an hour-long conversation. You know what I mean? It's just like,
right. Well, that's what we're choosing to do.
If we could go on social media. But why? Why collectively can we not go in and be like, oh, two things exist at this? Like, I just really feel like we're teaching that wrong.
Yeah. And also, it's just because people's attention spans are so short and nuance creates confusion. And people like for shit to be black and white.
Oh, we love gray.
We love gray. But that's at least the way that I look at it is like nuance creates confusion. It's the same fucking thing of the thing that we talk about of like, if they wanted to, they would. It's the same goddamn narrative of it. You're confused. You're in a situation that you're confused and you need someone to point to an exact answer because living in the confusion is just too much for you. It's just too much. So you're taking...
Gabby has her stress ball, by the way. Sorry, I just saw that on video for anyone watching video.
Like, I have been sweating this whole episode. I have been sweating this whole episode. From start to finish, I've been sweating. Because I'm talking about my parents fleeing.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking about men I hate. Like, it's just... The whole... I saw a meme the other day that was like, if he really wanted to, he would teleport, just saying. Like, and it was a guy. He was
I saw
joking.
That too. Yeah.
I think I posted it on TikTok Fridays.
I think you posted it. Yeah.
Like, it's literally that, where it's just like people, and listen, I do the same thing. I search for answers and shit because it's easier. It's easier. I get it. It's coping. But can we just all collectively agree that we're doing it to cope and like don't need to project it onto other people
and act like it's truth?
Yeah. People need to be more fucking self-aware.
This is a really in our feelings day. Can you tell?
We haven't recorded a solo in a while.
We haven't. We had some stuff we had to get off our chest.
I love our solos.
God, me too. It's already been 50 minutes and I feel like I barely got into what I wanted to talk about. I had so much I wanted to unpack with you, but
keep going.
No, we ran the gamut on most of the high part. We could talk about this all day. I gotta go feed my dog. You know,
we sure could. Listen, you got two bitches who love to hear themselves talk on a podcast.
That we can all agree on.
That's what you signed up for.
Make assumptions about that all day, or jokes about it all day. Also, what's really funny to me is when people try to like the same privileged Miami girly shit. Mm-hmm. When people make just dumb comments like that, I'm like, you think I don't have an integrated shadow? You think anything you say could hurt me more than the things I've already said myself? Oh, yeah. Funny. Oh, that's funny.
That's so
funny.
Cute.
You think that. That's so cute.
It's so cute that you don't think that the little girl in my head is a fucking cunt. Like, that's adorable.
Because she would tear you a new asshole. But instead, I'm just going to meditate and send you love and light. Later.
I'm working on that.
Wait, have I talked about the Ho'oponopono prayer on here yet?
I believe so, but talk about it again.
Just quickly, because I did check in with Lena about it a little bit because I hadn't actually spoken to any like native Hawaiian friend I had to kind of unpack it a little bit further because it's a lesson I got from this doctor in Hawaii. It's a whole big thing. Anyway, if you're ever feeling some type of way about someone, we'll unpack it at a later time when more in depth. But a really fun exercise to do for like yourself or your shadow or just someone else is called the Ho'oponopono. And it's basically repeating 4 mantras to yourself over and over in meditation. And it's, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And basically, I think I brought it up after the shooting because I was telling a friend, like, you know, I'm feeling all the different feels, but I'm really trying to be compassionate. And I was like saying those things over and over. And they're like, who are you trying to be compassionate for? And I was like, no one. And everyone and myself. Like when I say those things, I picture like we're all humans, we're all connected. So like any part of your shadow, I'm gonna fucking feel too because I have one too, and I get it, and I'm connected to you. So like anything in you that I don't like, I'm just gonna send love and light and healing because I'm sure I didn't like it in me either. And guess what? It's a lot nicer to live on this side of things, baby. We're choosing the or over here. Feels a lot better. Feels a lot better.
By the way, it was my sister that was telling me that recently. That's why.
Was it? Oh, I love
Anna Maria was talking to her about it.
Move here. Oh, I want to hear about her and Anna Maria. I don't think we ever got to talk about that.
No. Yeah, but that's where I heard that. Yeah, you feel a lot lighter when you just send people love and light and just, let me tell you, I have been working on that because it's hard. It's just sometimes
it's so hard. It's such
easier
a process.
To live in the anger. It's
because those neural pathways are formed a lot clearer. It's a lot easier to go down that road. And it's using anger as a motivator works. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
it doesn't work for me, but it works for in general.
Like I feel like a hot bitch when I'm mad at someone.
Oh my God. If I'm mad, I'm just crying. Or if someone's mad at me, I'm deflated. It's so the opposite. It's not even funny. So that's why we are co-hosts, because Gabby perfectly supports me.
You talked about this on Sarah Shakui's episode. I am promoting the shit out of every episode we've had today.
You really are. Plug them all, baby.
Well, I'm hungry.
Love Sarah. Yeah, let's go. That was great.
That was great.
I really got a lot. I feel like we both got a lot off our chest.
Me
I feel
too.
better. Love
Me
and
too. I
light.
wanna-
Sending love and light. We got all the
Sending
bad
so
feelings
much love
out.
and
So
light.
now we're just sending love and light. That's it, baby.
I send you, and you know what? Also, for my angry girlies on here, yeah, we can send love and light, but when you tell someone I'll send you love and light, it comes off sometimes so fucking condescending. So you can really
That's
mean it, but
low-key why I love it.
you can also get that zinger in. So don't just think that like
Love and light.
being a good person
big
is boring.
feelings, buddy. Sending
Big
you love and
feelings,
light.
buddy.
Big
Oi.
feelings, buddy.
Do you want to talk about it?
We should respond to your TikTok comments like that. Oh, big feelings, buddy. Do you want to come on the pod and unpack it?
Like, thanks, boy boss. Thanks, boy boss. That was so cute. Look at
so
you.
cute.
Look at you talking
Boy
about your
bossing.
feelings. Wow. Being condescending is funny. So yeah, don't think that being a good person is boring. Because it sure ain't.
It's no. We turn it into fun all day long, baby. Follow along, like and subscribe, ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Do the things. Let us know who you want to see on the pod. Let us know who you want us to talk about.
Oh, actually, please do. Yeah, we are always looking for more guest interviews, but also we reach out to people that we think are really cool and interesting. But if you guys think people are really cool and interesting that we don't maybe know about yet or aren't on our radar, put us on.
Oh, also, we do Patreon exclusive videos, some of which are exclusive, like Ask Me Anything Q&As. So sign up for our Patreon because there's some tea going to be spilled.
If you don't think I'm not going to be vlogging our entire Miami trip with me, Maddie, and Gabby and only putting it on Patreon, joke's on you.
And I know there's questions that you guys want to ask Meadow that are very gossipy.
They are.
You know, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. So you can ask them and we'll maybe answer them on Patreon.
Maybe
we'll talk about the butt plug.
Make it good.
All right. Ciao.
Oh my God, you'll say his name. Their names.
No, I sure won't. Meadow, I sure won't. I wish I could because like saying the last names of the last two are so funny back to back.
I know.
Because the first three letters
really
are the same. God, it's hilarious. You can just go through my Instagram following. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the Thoughts Mayberry podcast every Monday.